want me to start off?
Go ahead.
I was discharged from the Army, and I was in the Army with a bunch of guys from Pottstown, Pennsylvania. When we got discharged, they said, why don't we go up to the AMVETS this weekend to have a dance and celebrate getting out of the Army. So we went to the AMVETS it was a Saturday evening, and I looked over at the people in the room and they were dancing, and I saw Nancy. And I said, I gotta go over and ask that girl to dance. She's really a good-looking girl. So I went over and asked her to dance. And while we were dancing, I said to her, would you want to marry me? And she just laughed. She said, oh, this guy had too many beers. Right? So I danced with her, and she was beautiful. And I told the guys, don't mess with that girl there, that's mine tonight. So I danced with her, I must have danced with her all night.
I had just graduated from high school in June, and this was in October. And my aunt, who was 28, all her friends were married, so she bugged me to come with her. So I did.
And I kept trying to get her telephone number, and she wouldn't give it to me. She said she already had a boyfriend. I said, well, where's your boyfriend? He says he's in the Air Force. I said, well, you know what happens when you go in the Army? Jody's home, and I'm Jody. And she just laughed, and then finally, at the end of the night, she blurped out her phone number, and I wrote it down. So the next morning, around 7 o'clock in the morning, I called her. I said, well, what's your answer? Are you going to marry me or not?
When he called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, I said, who is this? 7 o'clock in the morning, I was getting ready to go to work at the Bell Telephone Company. And he said, you know, this is Fuzz. I said, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. And so anyway, he said, let's go to a movie. And I said, well, I really have a boyfriend. And I said, I'm really not interested. And he said, well, what's a movie among friends? So we went to a movie, and he was funny. He made me laugh. And it was just a fun night. I said, oh, well, for her friends, you know, it's not bad. So anyway, that's the way it started. And a year and a half later, almost 2 years later, we were married. Fuzz asked me to marry him, and we got married in 6 weeks. Neither one of us had any money, and neither did our parents. We had the reception in the social room at church, and we got $17 for gifts, and we used that to go on our honeymoon. we were going to go to Ocean City to stay overnight for our honeymoon, and Fuzz, when we went out to dinner, he orders a bottle of champagne. That took half of our money. So we had to go back home to our apartment. Crazy.
We just saved our money. You know, we knew we were short. I made $50 a week, and she made $50 a week. And instead of using her money, we put her money in the bank. And we just planned on saving our money to build our own home. And we saved about $350, I guess it was, and we saw some land that we wanted to.
We looked at this land for a year. And so finally Fuzz said, well, let's go ask the farmer that owns it and see if he would sell us the ground. And so Fuzz, he was a chicken farmer. So Fuzz knocked on his farmhouse, and he introduced himself, and he said, we have been looking at that piece of ground for a year, And he said, we would love to have it, but we only have $350. And he wanted $3,500 for it. And Fuzz said to him, if you will accept my $350, we'll come back in 1 year and pay you off. So we were just so lucky that it was like a handshake.
I had a part-time job as a pumping gas and stuff like that in Wayne, Pennsylvania. Bus drove a tractor trailer. I came home one night and told Nancy that I have an opportunity to go in business. So these guys that have this service station are going out of business and I have an opportunity to take it over. She said, what? You don't even have a screwdriver. And you're going to take over a service
That
station?
was true.
And I said, well, I can see a lot of potential there. And so she said, well, it's up to you, you know. And so then I took the money that we had saved to build our house. I think we had like $5,000 saved to go into business. So I went and got the service station and went to school and started the service station business. After 4 years of being in business, I had enough money to build my home. We went and started building our home on July 30th.
My mother's birthday,
Nancy-
July 30th
When
of
we broke ground.
1968. And when we broke ground, the whole family was out there like we were having a picnic. It was so exciting to see, you know, them building digging the hole and all that. And it was.
We had an under roof in 9 days. Nancy's uncles came down and Skeeter came down and we had and I worked, I mean, they almost killed me as far as carrying. All I could hear was block and mud, and I was the one that was doing all the labor. And they were laying the block and stuff like that, and putting the rafters up and stuff like that. And they would go home around 4:30. I'd be still nailing 9 o'clock at night, trying to put it back together again. But it was really a fun.
It was exciting.
It was really exciting.
It was a goal that we had had for 10 years, trying to get the money together. So. When we found each other, we learned that we both had similar goals to better ourselves. And for me, he always had a sense of humor. He was always a hard worker, always a family man, and trust. I think that was so important. And we worked together. That's what I would say.
I just loved her. I mean, from the very first time I saw her, I mean, the very first dance when I said, will you marry me? I had chills all through me. I mean, just, I don't know why it was, but it was just that way. And I always loved her.